Hey folks, I found the cheapest solution for fixing an alternator that's not charging. Let's take a look. What I've got here is a 2006 Ford F250 with a 5.4 liter gas V8 engine. And I was trying to use this truck yesterday to jump off a piece of equipment that had low battery power, and it was taking a long time. And finally I checked my voltage here on my battery and I only had about 11.5 volts. So I started to diagnose this problem, and I figured out that my alternator was not charging my battery. This battery is not very old, but the alternator was simply not sending the proper voltage to the battery. The battery should have shown well over 13 volts while the truck is running. So I got in here, took off this air intake hose here, took the alternator loose, and this alternator is a Ford 3G family alternator. I think it's 130 amp alternator, so pretty good size one for this F250. And it's got a removable voltage regulator on the back of it. That's what this wire cable hooks into. So I thought maybe I needed a new voltage regulator, but it turns out I didn't even need that. Underneath the voltage regulator itself is this little set of brushes, and it's on, like I said, it's on the back of the alternator there underneath the voltage regulator. And these two little brushes that are spring loaded, they actually press against the spinning shaft of the alternator to do their job, and so they're constantly wearing away. And as you can see, this one here is much shorter. It's almost gone, really, and it's got some black stuff on it. You can tell that it wasn't making good contact anymore with that shaft. So it's just worn out. And as it turns out, my local Advanced Auto Parts had this little brush set for only $7.29. And by ordering it online, I even got a 15% discount, which brought the total cost down to $6.70. So this was much cheaper than having to install a new alternator for sure, or even a voltage regulator for the alternator. Now, I've already replaced this. I got my battery voltage up to over 13.5 volts when the truck's running now, so it's great. But just to get you prepared here, all you need to do this fix is a 1/2 inch breaker bar to get a hold of that belt tensioner down in there. You can't really see it, but the belt tensioner has a 1/2 inch square hole in it, so you just use this breaker bar and push that way to loosen the tension on the belt so that you can take the belt off of the alternator. You need a 10mm socket or open end wrench to loosen the 4 bolts on this little bracket across the top of the alternator, and the 2 bolts that are at the bottom of the alternator. So those 6 bolts will get the alternator loose. And then to take off the voltage regulator from the back of the alternator, you need a T20 Torx bit. That's the 6-pointed star type bit. So that'll remove all the screws that have that voltage regulator and its little brush set fastened to the back of the alternator. I hope this works for you. See you next time.